Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here today as we talk about our comprehensive plan and the information. So we've done about almost, would you say, about 7, 8 months worth of work? So it's been about 7, 8 months when we first started. The Board of Trustees had approved for us to go ahead and move forward with a comprehensive plan. And what I've learned over the years being in this role is that we didn't have a comprehensive plan. What we had was a land use plan. And as we grow and develop in the community, we have to have something that strategically put us in position to move the needle forward. And those that's running government, whether it's me or someone else, they have a playbook that they can go by because we had community input. And so most of the input that we got from the residents was at our Juneteenth celebration. So we got an abundance of input. We had a community meeting right after that. And so this is probably the final community meeting that we will have unless some feedback come from you all tonight on what it is. Pete Ioso from Tesca Associates, he's a consultant that's working on our comprehensive plan. And so in this comprehensive plan, it's a robust comprehensive plan that's covering a lot of different entities, and we've actually had good relationships with like UIC as it relates to our climate resilient plan, environmental sustainability. We've added that because climate change is a real thing. We got infrastructure, we have health and wellness because we all want to stay healthy, and COVID taught us a lot. So we have to include those things in our plan to make sure that we're a healthy, thriving community. We got land use, economic development, and in economic development, it does not only include our businesses, it includes our residential and how we look at housing and new developments, whether it's an apartment structure or if we're going to do townhomes, because we have a plot of land that we can build some townhomes on, and we're really considering that. How we look at our business, we have a robust industrial area, and it's fully occupied right now, which is good for us. And our commercial district on Roosevelt Road is growing. And the mall is self-sustaining, and so many of you probably don't know this, but the Broadview Shopping Center, out of 1,200 shopping centers that's like size, that mall, and when we say like size, we're talking about the number of stores and the amount of revenue that's generated out of that shopping center. Out of 1,200, Broadview ranks number 47 in the nation with revenue. So we have a very robust shopping center that's real good and healthy for our community on how we look at things. So I'm going to turn it over to Pete so that he can go into some high-level conversations on what this looked like. We did include EV charging station. I do have to say this because it's near and dear to my heart, and I don't think most residents understand environmental policy. So in the last election, we had put some referendum questions out to vote yes or no. And one of the questions was, should we invest in environmental policies? And to my surprise, most of the residents said no. So the referendum, if we was to continue forward, it would be something that the residents would not want to invest in as it relates to how we look at policies and those types of things, but it's very important. But I will say on the back end, when it came to EV charging stations, as part of environmental sustainability, everybody voted yes. So I think I have some work to do to educate the community on what environmental policies look like as it relates to, it's not just EV charging stations or energy efficiency, it's health and wellness. It's everything that we do, how we look at trees. We've made a great big investment on how we take down dead trees and replant new trees, because tree canopy is a big part of the environmental sustainability, how we look at the changing in climate and those types of things. So I know that I have some work to do, but that wasn't something that's set in stone. It was just a preliminary question to give us some feedback on what direction, on where we need to educate our community on when it comes to environmental sustainability. So recently I was in Florida at our conference, our national conference, and I'm saying this to not to brag or boast, but how big a deal when we look at environmental sustainability in our nation. And I was appointed as the chair for the Energy Environmental Sustainability Committee in the National League of Cities. What do that mean? That means that I get to represent 19,000 city, villages, and towns on environmental issue, and I get feedback from those across America on how we look at issues that impact. So I'm gonna really be diving in so that the residents really understand environmental sustainability, not as a financial thing that's gonna cost a ton of money, because we've been very fortunate within the last 2 years of receiving environmental grants, we probably have received pretty much close to probably $2 million. So we're not putting that on the back, but we're actively going after federal dollars to combat some of these issues as it relates to climate control. We're looking at lead service lines, how we look and replace those lead service lines. And so the ARPA funds that we receive through lead service lines, which is our infrastructure and how we look at a lot of these policies and comprehensive plans, when we look at the investment in that, the ARPA funds that we receive, we invested that back into some health initiatives for our fire and police department because they was the first responders when we got into the pandemic. But we also looked at it for how we look at lead service lines and replacing lead service lines. So we put the majority of that money into replacing lead service lines back into the village of Broadview. And what that means is that we looked at those kids that's birth to 5 years old are the most impacted by lead. And so we are investing to change all of those lead service lines at the local schools, which we have two, which is Lindop School and Roosevelt School. And then we have our Broadview Park District, which is at the Beverly Center and Schroeder Park. And then all of those home-based daycare centers that provide services for early child from birth to 5 years old, because that's our greatest risk. So we have to make sure that we are well-rounded and we're spending our dollars in the right area. And when you hear lead, you think, oh, no, they're trying to kill us. So lead been around for a very long time, especially in the state of Illinois, and now that the EPA has put these mandates on every state that have lead service line, we have to be responsible. So we're doing our part to make sure that we're making sure that it don't get into the system of young children, because that's how they develop. And if lead is in that, it stops development with ADH and other developmental disorders. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of the mom, the pregnant mom, and then children up to 5 years old. And then as we work through this process, we just continually seek funding to combat some of the issues that we have. So I'm going to turn it over to Pete and let him go into this. If you have questions, please let us know. We want to address all of the concerns, because this is not the mayor's comprehensive plan. It's not the board of trustees' comprehensive plan. This is our plan. And we spent a lot of money getting this plan together. And I want to make sure that every voice is heard as it relates to how we look at our comprehensive plan and how we grow from 1 year to 5 years to 10 years to 15 years. Is give us a playbook on where we need to go and where we're going, and if we need to tweak and bob and weave throughout that plan, we're able to have that flexibility to do that. But it's that important that we have something. And as we look at more federal dollars in either HUD, even if it's in environmental or some of the federal agencies that may have some funding coming down the pipeline, one thing they look at is if do we have a plan in place? And I want to make sure that we are well prepared to go after all funding that we can get. And for us to be a community of 8,000 residents, I will say we've been very blessed in Broadview to get the funding that we've been receiving and being in a good financial situation today because of that. So thank you all for being here. We're going to be here to address any questions or concerns. I do want to acknowledge that we do have Trustee Abraham that's here in the room, that's on the board of trustees. Our police and fire chief, our village clerk is here, and our water operator in the Public Works Department is here as well, and our village administrator. So thank you all for being here. We're here to address any questions or concerns that you have. If we finish early, that would be great. But if not, we're not rushing through this process because this will probably be the last formal point of communication that we have before it goes to the Board of Trustees for final approval. So thank you, Pete. And Yuchim, from Tesca? Yep. So we have Yusum and Pete. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, you hit all the good points. My name's Pete. I'm from Tesca Associates. I'm the village planning consultant. I've been the planning consultant for the village of Broadview probably over 20 years now, since about 2005-ish. So I'm very familiar with the community. I live just south of Cermak Road, not actually in Broadview, but I'm in Broadview literally every day. And before we get started, just so everyone knows, there's snacks and treats and drinks and stuff in the back. Feel free to help yourselves. I'm not going to spend a ton of time just talking at you tonight. We want this to be more interactive. So I have a bunch of boards set up around. And I'll explain that in a second. But just to kind of piggyback off of what the mayor said, we've been in the process of doing a comprehensive plan for the village for probably since the late spring, early summer. We're coming up on the end now, trying to finalize a draft. And so we've been reaching out over the months to try to get as much community input as we could. We had a retreat with the trustees and the department heads to kind of get the direction in beginning of summer of where we wanted to go. And I also had a booth at the Juneteenth celebration, so I was there all day, talked to a lot of people, and I talked to a lot of kids, which was actually very good. I do a lot of these plans for communities, and we don't typically get a lot of youth participation, so that was very encouraging. A couple of the high school kids stopped by and then just brought all their friends over. So that was some good input we got. But as the mayor said, I've been writing these plans for 20 years. I don't want to just write Pete's plan for Broadview. My goal is to just help the village articulate your plan. So that's the main reason for this meeting tonight, is we want to get some input from the public on kind of priorities. So like I said, we're kind of at the end stages of the plan, of writing up the draft plan. And now we're kind of working on implementation. Which projects, what do we want to focus on, short term, medium term, long term, and that's kind of what I'm hoping to get some direction from the community here tonight. So what we have is we set up a couple of stations. I've got 4 stations here in the corners that kind of hit the main concepts of the comprehensive plan. So what a comprehensive plan is, it's the long-range plan for the village. It's essentially a 10, 20-year plan for the village, where we're looking at where are we at now, where do we want to go, and then how do we get there. So we're looking at, as the mayor said, you have a comprehensive plan now, but it's super basic. It's essentially just a land use plan. So now we're in the process of a full-fledged comprehensive plan where we're looking at more than just strictly land use. We're looking at economic development. We're looking at sustainability. We're looking at design, transportation, all of that stuff. So what we want to do tonight is kind of just have everybody, we'll break you up and go from station to station. There's 4 main stations here. Over here, the green one, we have sustainability and infrastructure. This is where we're looking at stormwater management, implementing green technologies, that type of thing. The blue station here is development and site design, where we're looking at things such as architecture, landscaping, trying to make the Roosevelt Road corridor, trying to make the community look nice, high quality design. So we're kind of looking at, what kind of stuff do you like? What kind of stuff do you want to see in the village? What kind of stuff is not really what you're looking for? In the back, the yellow is transportation and corridor design. That's primarily where we're looking at Roosevelt Road and Cermak, 17th and 25th. Issues regarding transportation, public transportation, buses, access to the buses and trains, corridor design as far as Roosevelt Road. There's actually a Roosevelt, oh, that's okay. There's actually a Route 31 corridor plan that we have now that's probably about 50% implemented. You could probably see where it got done, and it stops pretty much at 17th. Where to the west, you can see a lot of the upgrades as far as street trees and the pavers and the sidewalk furniture and whatnot. We still have going east to continue on that. So that's the yellow in the back. And then placemaking is the red in the back. Placemaking, we're looking at essentially because Broadview is in an unfortunate situation where you don't really have a downtown. So we're looking at ways to create spaces, public spaces where people can gather, pop-up restaurants, those types of things. So what we want to kind of get everyone to do, we have some stickers here. And we're looking for input from the community to see where your priorities are so that I can prioritize in my plan, you know, what are the things that the residents really want to focus on and what are the things that you're really not that concerned about. So we have some stickers. Absolutely.
Because I'm going to borrow his. I was looking at the four. Okay. Okay, my name is Vita Hotchkiss, and I've been living in Broadview for a while and decided to retire here. And I had to consider that because I wasn't going to. But I looked at the 4 stations, and I thought, okay, I can do what you're about to tell us to do. But then I looked at this, and I think this is like, it shows the perimeters of Broadview. And then I looked here, and it said native plants. And I was like, but we only have 2 parks. So does this include changes to the park? It does not.
So
And I think those are things we need to know before we start considering things. And then I looked at the orange, and it was like potential development. And there were like 4 little blocks. And I was like, okay, that doesn't give us a lot of room to change stuff. And so I think those are things we need to know before we start putting stuff in places based on the potential that we have here.
Yep, those are very good questions. Regarding the native plantings, this is not a park master plan for the park district, but we are, when we're doing site design, like for example, the new Chick-fil-A just opened up. They have some landscaping around the parking lot. When we're looking at Roosevelt Road, we have the street trees. So primarily what we're looking at for those types of things regarding plantings is what's native to this area. And the biggest issue over the last 20 years as I've been working with the community is issues relating to snow. So there's all kinds of cool things that you can do in a corridor to make it look pretty. But your corridors are very narrow, there's not a lot of sidewalk space, and the snow plows cover that up, and then the salt kills it all. But there are certain plantings that are more resistant to salt than other plants, and so that's the kind of thing we're looking at as far as native plantings go. Also, as far as stormwater management. So the MWRD for new developments requires stormwater detention. In Broadview, that's typically going to be underground because there's just not a lot of room for a big detention pond. But if there was a detention pond, those are the types of things that we could look at. So, but no, we're not doing a park master plan. And then the other thing, you hit 2 of the big issues that we're trying to address in the comprehensive plan, is just that Broadview is a built-out community. You know, you've got neighbors to all sides. It's not like you're going to be annexing new property for a new subdivision or anything like that. We have what we have. And the village has actually been doing a really good job over the course of the last 10 years or so as far as economic development and bringing new businesses in. The Broadview Square is not 100% full, but essentially 100% full. There's basically this square here is the bank kind of next to the McDonald's that's vacant-ish. I think they might have some storage in there. But so that's a potential opportunity site. The vacant Checkers is this one. But yeah, you're right, there's not a whole lot of just vacant. We've got the one on Roosevelt Road with the new proposed apartment building. Yeah, that's on Roosevelt Road. That one, and we just had, the other big site was where the senior housing on 17th went. But yeah, there's not a ton of just vacant property for development. But the other purpose of this map was I just highlighted the spots that I know off the bat that I'm looking at, that I know are redevelopment opportunities and what could potentially go there. But the other purpose of this map is just any general ideas that you guys might have that you can, show me where they are. I had this map at the Juneteenth, and I had a bunch of people come and, oh, here's an intersection that needs a stop sign. We'll mark that down. This street floods, so we need to address that. So any issues like that, this is just kind of for me to, you can point out anything you want that might not necessarily be covered on any of the boards, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
So really, this is going to be super informal. Feel free to ask any questions. I have my associate back here. You can stand up and wave to everybody. He's my associate. So what I'd like to do is just, again, we have refreshments. This is very super casual. I'm here, Yuchin's here to answer any questions that you might have. And what we'd like to do is just to get everybody to kind of move around the room, hit all of these boards, and then put the stickers on the ones that you like so that I can prioritize your priorities and we can tailor this plan to your preferences, not just mine. So the idea is everybody takes 6 stickers per board. It's not going to be super helpful to me if you just put a sticker on every single one, because that doesn't help me prioritize. So limit yourself to 6 per board and help us prioritize.
I'm sorry, I just have one question. The individuals that's viewing live stream, how would they voice their opinion?
That's a good question.
They can send their comments in to the clerk.
They can send comments into the,
So those that's viewing us online, you can actually send your comments to Clerk Kevin McGreer. His email is kmcgier@broadview-il.gov. We wish you were here.
That's all I want.
and I can leave these boards, and I can talk to them about maybe putting them up on the village's website. We'll see what we can do about that. But yeah, unfortunately, this is kind of an interactive kind of a thing. But yeah, we want anybody who's watching live, we absolutely want your comments. You can send them into the village or contact me directly. My email is piosue@tuscaassociates.com.
So we have Trustee Abraham here, so I don't know if she wanted to make a comment or ask a question, but we also have representatives from the Broadview Public Library, Trustee Atkins and Dr. And then I see Trustee Armour on the Board of Trustees just walked in. So Trustee Abraham, is there anything you want to say or add before we turn it over to the residents to map it out? Trustee Atkins?
I would just like to thank all the residents for coming out. We got a nice turnout. Thank you so much. And don't forget to come visit us at the Broadview Library. If you haven't seen the new library, we'd love to have you. Thank you.
And Dr. Wooten from the Broadview Public Library.
Just very briefly, and I think my colleague has already mentioned it, but we have a new executive director, exciting times at the Broadview Library, and I'm not sure if she's here or not. She actually lives a little ways away, but a lot of great things going on with the library, and we're excited about the future of the library collaborating with the rest of the community, so thank you.
You're welcome. And then we have our health partners from UIC that's here. I don't know if Tasha or Doc want to say a few words on health and wellness.
Hi, I'm from the University of Illinois Cancer Center, and we are focused on bringing attention to this area. And so that's why I'm here, is just to represent the university, but not to make any comment necessarily. And also there's some giveaways of hand sanitizers and nail files and things back here, and a little bit of information on clinical trials. And so that being said, making sure that their clinical trials actually represent the population of the United States. And so, as many of you know, that there's not good representation of Black and brown folks in clinical trials. And so talk to your doctors, come to UI Health, talk to doctors there, and get on clinical trials that are applicable for you. We actually just refer to them as another pathway for health. So it's not something different, and we offer them to all of our patients. So.
Hello, Sam Youssef. Also work with the UIC Cancer Center and B Health and engineering firm GSI Networks. Happy to be here, really to observe, because I think this is very interesting, a very unique concept in the sense of looking at how all of these different platforms integrate for a more, robust, more efficient way to live. And then from a healthcare perspective, as we've learned over the last several years, everything is interrelated. So in regards to sustainability and climate change and the impact that it has on healthcare and healthcare outcomes. So I think, collectively in looking at this becomes very, very important for us all to realize that any one domino sort of collectively sets a number of other things into action, and they're all very much interactive. And so it's, this is a great opportunity to observe how a community like this is going to go ahead and approach all of these different and very interesting future developments.
I'm particularly glad that you're here, and I gave your associate my card before you got here, and I'd be very interested in any ideas that you guys have. We do have a chapter in the plan on health and wellness, so any input from you guys, any ideas, I'm more than willing to hear from you guys.
And so on the health and wellness side, I want to piggyback the relationship with the University of Illinois and Loyola Medical Center as it relates to health and wellness. So we have two great partners as it relates to health and wellness, and we have programs that's in place like Move with the Mayor, that's a health initiative, how we bring healthy eating into the concept of what that really looked like for the village of Broadview and the people that live here. So those that may have some health elements, that part is going to be key, how we develop the health and wellness chapter in the comprehensive plan so that we can look at it from a lens of being proactive instead of reactive. So if you don't have to disclose your health conditions, but if you could just give us some insight of different things that you've come up against, that would be very helpful, because if it's happening to you, it may be happening to someone else, and if we have a resource that we can share, but we'll be working with our two health partners as we collaborate to develop just that chapter and how we bring activities. And that's being included with our recreational partner, which is the Broadview Park District, on what that looked like. So it's not just the village of Broadview. We're looking at recreational and health and wellness as a collaboration with our other taxing bodies, and how we bring us wholesome as a community with a healthy lifestyle. So I'm not going to take too much time, but Pete, I can't remember all of the chapters, but I know we have transportation, health and wellness, economic development, land use, transportation, technology. And housing.
Yeah, housing. Yeah.
So I just wanted you all to know the different chapters that we're addressing in the comprehensive plan, because all of these chapters mean something to all of us. So let me see what you got, Commissioner. Also, we got land use, health and wellness, transportation, infrastructure, housing, community facilities, sustainability, and technology. So something should tap into like where your interests are. Now the boards that's up, I don't know which, but if you could visit each board, and if it's something that spark your interest, just mark it and flag it so that we can have that for consideration as we move forward. But these are the things that we really addressing. And from my lens, technology and sustainability is high, because we don't talk about, like, we have to consider AI. That's a big thing now, and we have to address it, and we have to be forward thinking as it relates to how we utilize that and how we use that in the community. And then sustainability is all our environmental sustainability, our trees, our stormwater infrastructure, and then infrastructure is our streets, sidewalks, alleys, water mains, and all of those other things that come play with that. And then transportation is how we move around with mobility, like when we looking at Roosevelt Road, do we have accessible crossings at Roosevelt Road, and I can tell you, no, we don't. Because the kids at Lindop School did a crosswalk project, and it was identified that we don't have the proper crosswalks at 17th and 15th Avenue to safely cross our children to and from school. And when you go on Roosevelt Road, we have walk signs that say it's a crossing, but there's no crosswalk there. So make it make sense. So this will identify some of those things that we've already had started, but we're using the children to help us with this. Like I know we just got alert from IDOT, we're getting ready to look at some stoplights and how we look at ADA compliance for those that may have a visible disability. But do we have Braille on the crosswalk so they can safely cross the street when they know it's time to cross? So it's a lot that goes with these plans that we're considering, and we need your input and feedback. When we look at housing and you look at the chart that's right there, that we call it the zoning map. And when you look at that map, Broadview is landlocked, so we can't grow no more. We can only enhance what we have, and that's what this plan is going to do, is enhance it. A lot of our homes are aging. We're looking at new developments, working with Cook County as we look at modular homes, how we're looking at townhomes, new development, the Roosevelt Road units that's on Roosevelt Road that's being considered for to bring housing back, because we don't have enough housing, not just in Broadview, but in America. It's just not enough housing. And people are being priced out of their homes. So how do we make it affordable, and how do we continue to keep us living in our homes? I plan on retiring in my home. I just do. That's my plan. I don't know what God's plan is. But we have to think about all of these things to consider, like, what's proactive for us that live here right now today, and what do the future present for us as we age. How we look at our senior population. We're an aging community. And so when we bring out like the senior housing development that we did, the 72 units, some of those seniors that wanted to move out of their single family homes moved into the senior housing, which gave an opportunity for a young family to buy that house and raise their children there. So it's just keeping our ecosystem going and flowing where people are happy here, and we're growing and thriving in the right direction. And then our community facilities, not just our municipal, but this building was remodeled in 2019. And it's nice. And we put a lot of investment into how we look at making sure our police department had the proper size that they needed to be efficient, like with Detective Bureau and investigations and the gun range and all of those things. So we did that in 2019, remodeling this room and remodeling the administration. And when you look at the fire department, we just made over $1 million investment in the fire with a new roof. They got new living corridors. The firefighters, they deserve all of those things because they live here 24 hours a day when they're on shift. And so we want them to be our firefighters and comfortable and be able to live in a safe environment that's free from environmental hazards like mold or things that could cause respiratory issues that could have been an impact over there if we didn't invest in that. So I'm proud to say we're making investments in the right decision as it relates to our public safety team. And then even how we look at energy compliancy with the Broadview Park District, that's an aging facility. The Beverly Center and Schroeder Park. But utilizing and reinvesting in our community to make sure whatever the village of Broadview get, the Park District have access to the resource. An example would be the swimming pool. The swimming pool is a huge investment in any community. And we invested by giving the Broadview Park District $800,000 to revitalize that swimming pool. It's going to cost them about $1.5 million, and they're working on getting the rest of the money so that pool can open back up, because that's a real thing in our community that the community look for. So we are doing our part as it relates to energy efficiency, making sure that we share our resources with our local business partners, whether it's in the industrial partners, our commercial partners, and our residents. So we just need your help at this point, and we want your feedback so that we can put a good plan together for all of us that plan on being here for a very long time, like me, 200 years later.
And one last thing, the final chapter of the plan is the implementation, which is the most important probably section of the plan. The mayor touched on that a little earlier in her comments. About getting funding, potential funding for future village projects. Having a plan in place really helps when you're applying for grants, that you've already thought these issues through and you just didn't say, oh, we want this money, so now we want to do this. If you already have a plan in place and you thought it through and the grant matches your plan, it makes it easier to get funding for stuff. So the final piece of the plan is implementation, where we'll look at short-term, medium-term, and long-term, which is really what I want some input, hopefully, from you guys tonight. And a lot of that will come from funding. You know, how soon can we do it is primarily going to be driven by how much it costs and can we get that money. But there's a lot of just little stuff that we can hit right away, you know, in the next year or so. And then there's some more long-term stuff. But that's really kind of the focus of what I'm trying to get tonight is what are your priorities so that I can prioritize my recommendations in the plan to match the community. So I like to just kind of let everybody go. I'm more than willing to stay as long as anybody has any questions. But I would like to, hopefully, if everybody can just hit each one of these boards, you guys too, staff, I want everybody's opinion. Like I said, just take a look at this. Yuchin and I will be bouncing around, answer any questions that you guys might have, but just put the stickers on the ones that you think are the most important, the things that you think should be prioritized. Kind of limit yourself to 6 per each one. Like I said, if you just put a sticker on every one, that's not really going to help me prioritize. So I really need to know what's most important to you and what's not. So I'll kind of let everyone go. Again, we've got snacks and cookies and juice in the back.
here, the board. See the board?
All right, I guess we're going to wrap it up. It's coming on 7:30. If anyone wants to take any cookies home, take some cookies home. Take some brownies. All right, there's nobody else here. For the people in the benefit, if anyone's still watching, we will still have one final public meeting once the plan is done to present the actual plan to the board. So there will be a final public meeting. But this has been great info. I'm going to tabulate all this stuff and use it to prioritize my stuff. And we'll finalize the draft in the next couple of weeks and get the ball rolling. Thanks, Kevin.